Good morning. It is a Friday, kind of like the weekend. Fridays are to be celebrated, even if you're working. They're awesome because it's going to be a weekend just around the corner. The weather looks good. No rain in the forecast. Fog comes back. Fog has come back. This is this morning from Mount Tamalpais. Let's see if I can pull this up for you. And that it's just going to show the fog spewing inland. Now, Mount Tamalpais is up over 2,300 feet. So you've got, let me move this mic a little closer. So you've got an inversion here that's probably, at least 1,000 feet. And I'll show you that in the visible satellite. So I'm just showing you the inversion because you go, oh yeah, this is unusual for this time of year to see it happens, but it's just not right. Coastal fog is not our thing in January or February. Coastal fog is our thing in the spring, right, in the summer. So that is from Mount Tamalpais. This is the visible satellite image that goes west. I always talk about the visible satellite because it tells you a lot. It tells you there's still snow on Mount Shasta, shows all the snow up in the mountains, a lot of snow. Interesting how there's a little bit of a lack of snow up here, but at lower elevations up around Susanville. But you also have the coastal area, and you can see where the fog, coastal fog, all up and down the coast, in Monterey as well, under the Salinas Valley, where the fog is bleeding inland. And that is an indication of how deep the inversion is. So we looked at that live picture, or that essentially fast forward of this morning. You see that the fog is under the mountaintop, so it's under 2,000 feet. Looked to me like it was around 1,700 feet, just eyeballing it. So the coastal range averages 1,000 feet. I know it's higher, it's lower, but just average that. So when you go look at it, you go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I look at this visible satellite in the morning and go, oh yeah, the inversion's over 1,000 feet. And when you see it all the way up into the East Bay, you go, maybe it's over 1,600 feet, right up over Vollmer Peak up in the East Bay. So you get a good vibe for the inversion. You get a good vibe for what kind of day it's going to be. When that fog is pinched down tight along the coast, a lot of times it's going to be warmer inland, right? Because the fog's not cooling. All sorts of things you can derive from this. And in Southern California, you can see we're not seeing smoke from these fires, which is great. Winds have died down. And in Southern California, this is Wilshire Boulevard, the end of Wilshire Boulevard. It's interesting because I went looking for cameras the other day along the PCH, and I couldn't find any, like surf cameras, because of the fire. I know that they lost a lot of homes, but I was surprised how many cameras we lost in the process. So this is one of the ones I found. This is Wilshire Boulevard, and you can see the water textured, meaning the winds are onshore. I don't even look at the surface odds, but I know they are. Why? Because there's the fog along the headlands, right? And that fog is being pushed inland by an onshore breeze. And with that onshore breeze comes increased humidity, which is going to help greatly on the fire lines to gain the perimeters or containment. And again, containment is about getting hot spots out on the edges of these huge fires. So you go all around these fires, and they're going all the way around. In the middle, it's fine. It's not great, but in the middle, it's not going to spread rapidly. But if you get something on an edge that sparks 2 weeks later, which is what I was talking to Doug Stinton last night. He's a professor emeritus at San Jose State. He was telling me, he's going, yeah, I think they're leaning into the Palisades fire being started by fireworks from the New Year's Eve up on that hill, and they'd put out the fire, right? It was a week prior, and then those winds came up and uncovered a spark, and that's what the working theory right now. I don't know if that's exactly the case, but it just illustrates that the potentiality for that type of thing. So now that's one little spot fire up on a hill. This is a containment line that's thousands of hundreds of square miles. So that's the big deal. And anyway, this humidity, that fog, that onshore wind is going to help greatly with that situation. So I'm happy for that. Frost advisory here. This is a national map. I just like to look at it from time to time because you go, okay, what's going on? Well, the cold, blue cold, that's wind. You kind of learn the colors of the warnings and advisories. When things start turning red and orange and yellow, that's when you go, oh. And that's what's going to happen. Like here's some orange here. And that's because that's the beginning of this Arctic blast that's coming down in through the plains on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, kind of in there. And it's going to be an issue. I talk about heat all the time because it's ubiquitous, right? It's everywhere. And so you get a heat dome over 8 million people, you're going to have problems. And heat is really devastating on health for elderly, pre-existing conditions, kids, unhoused. Well, cold, not as aggressive, but almost too aggressive. It's everywhere. So cold is going to cover millions and millions of people. Very cold, all the way down to Florida, Georgia line, all the way down towards northern Louisiana. Temperatures are going to get near freezing in Atlanta or at freezing, and that's going to be a big story. And you'll hear a lot about that next week. This is us right now. This is the model. We're looking at, and let me summarize real quick. Weekend looks great. Coastal fog and then valley fog returns tomorrow morning in the Central Valley as high pressure reestablishes itself. But overall, it's steady as she goes. Today will be the coolest day in the Bay Area and probably in the Central Valley too. And then it warms a little bit each day and doesn't get hot, but back into the low 60s. For Martin Luther King Day on Monday, it'll be maybe mid 60s. So it's going to be a nice weekend, which is great, but it's also like, dang, man, we need rain, right? I got a nice note from a gentleman the other day up in Marin County, and I've been saying, yeah, they were 200% of rainfall average. Then they were 180%. He goes, right now we're about $1.15. That's how quickly the numbers whittle away when you don't get rain. And that rain we had earlier this year, if you can remember that far back, that was significant north of the Golden Gate Bridge. Significant, almost two rain periods, right? 200%. So you get the idea. Okay, so we're going to push the model through. We're looking for lines to get close together. You see them here, right? Those are isobars. They are like, it's a pressure gradient, but what they're like, if you've ever backpacked, let me push forward a little bit here, and just, there you go. If you've ever backpacked, you know what contours, the contours on a map mean. In that case, it's steepness, right? So here's the valley, here's the hill. Right? And so you're going uphill. And the closer those lines are together when you're a backpacker, you know you're going to be doing switchbacks. Well, these aren't switchbacks, but it's a steep gradient between the high and the low. So we're looking for wind because we're concerned about Southern California right now. And there's some noise out there right now. And that's the other thing too. There's a lot of noise about, okay, this is going to happen. It's going to be extreme. Looks like this pattern, because it's not going to rain, we are going to have periods of offshore winds and periods of Santa Ana winds. That's just what it's going to be as these systems sort of slide and miss us. It creates a pressure gradient. In LA, oftentimes, and we as well, will get these stronger winds. In this case, I'm waiting for it to start to build together. We're into the 22nd. So that is Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you see right there. See, they start to get a little closer, but still manageable. But then you're going to see right here around, this is where it gets weird. This is around the 26th, which is what we've been looking at, right? The 26th of January. Not much happens, but you see how the pressure, that's a low, and it's being impacted by the high. So this is the bottom of the valley, basically. And those contours representing the steepness between the pressure bars, or the difference between high and low pressure. So what I worry about here is there is a chance of some rain, which would be great. Even Southern California, maybe a little rain, that would be helpful. But then as it slings by, you see it kind of creates this gap, this pressure gradient here. So, and that's on 26, 27. So we'll watch that, because anytime a low gets close to a high, you get the pressure gradients, the mountains next to a valley. I hope that makes sense. I do this, especially this GFS sea level pressure rainfall map, just because once you get used to looking at it, you don't need me. You don't need anybody. You can go to the College of DuPage site on my website. It's this site. You can pick up the GFS. You can go out 48 hours. You can go out 72 hours. You can go out as far as you want, as far as it will go. And you can look at the different runs, because the different runs update pretty regularly. In this case, they're kind of moving around a little bit. But anyway, so it looks like the 26th, maybe something happens, 25th, 26th, 27th. And that creates a potential for maybe some wind in Southern California. And you'll hear a lot about that, because that's the noise that gets clicks, is that, oh my God, another disaster. But it's not atypical for another Santa Ana wind event to occur. Here is a system. Looks like this is on the 30th of January. That looks decent. And what I noticed here was a little parade, a succession. So the models are like, say there's something else. So the models are going, okay, we're going to start acting like winter again, but that's not until the end of the month, the very end of the month. This is Sugar Bowl. This is the ski lodge. This is Mount Disney. This is Nob Hill. And just a beautiful day. I'm glad you guys if you're up there skiing, I'm stoked for you. Mount Shasta, because it shows the atmosphere so beautifully. They're getting a little dry too, right? Look at the snow line. Northern California is doing well, but as I pointed out with the Marin County example, the percents of average this time of year when you're not getting rain, because you're supposed to be getting boom, boom, rain. When you're not getting it, they just decline. So again, Marin County, 280, 200%, they're down to $1.15, and that's Marin County. So you can bet San Jose's down. Tomorrow maybe we'll talk more about that. Ocean Beach, mild, kind of surfable day today. The winds came onshore with the fog. The swell is giant in Hawaii. It's 10 to 15 feet. And you're going, well, it doesn't look that big, Bill. Because the winds. When the winds go onshore, they take the big waves and just turn them into a big ball of white water. Once the wind switches, which it will as this little weather system goes out, when the wind swifts, it's going to clean up. And when it cleans up, you're going to see every bit of 15, 20-foot waves, which would be 30-foot faces perhaps. And then Caltrans, we go up to the mountains. And this is downtown. This is Tahoe, right? This is North Lake Tahoe. And very little snow on the ground. It's been cold in the mornings up there, as you would guess. But not a lot going on in terms of snow in the future for our friends in Lake Tahoe. So that's it. That's a quick one. So what did I say? I said we got rain not coming for any time soon. Next chance for rain will be end of January. That tightens up the pressure gradient for LA. So you'll hear a lot in this next week. You'll hear a lot about Santa Ana winds and catastrophe and potential for everything. And that is true, I guess. Yeah, unless they get that rain that could potentially go. So we'll watch that. There was that rain that wanted to come through. Other than that, it's an awesome weekend. Enjoy it. I can't think of anything else to talk about. I hope I didn't go on too long, but there's always something to talk about with weather. I appreciate you watching, and I love the critiques. I really do. Just because, I don't know, I'm just doing what I do, and you guys are awesome enough to kind of guide me through it. So I appreciate that. Okay, we will see you back here. I don't know if I can do anything tomorrow because things are kind of stagnant, and it's my day off. Okay, see you back here.